Jim Cornette, you can rest in peace. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. And one of the biggest losers in the wrestling business is calling out Kane. He's calling out The Undertaker. Two guys that he wouldn't say anything to if he was looking at them face to face. Now he's been called out by none other than Mr. Sean Morley, Chief of Staff.
Hello, Joseph Stalin. Woo! I tell you what, right? This guy bottled it. He bottled it for Santino. What would he do to Kane and Undertaker? I think his arsehole would collapse.
His arse would collapse, and you know what? I'm actually sick of the disrespect that Taker's been getting, the disrespect that Kane's been getting for a number of years now. I mean, people are saying that Taker was never any good and that he was lucky to be surrounded by, like, Austin. And I mean, are you fucking serious? Some loser that works for AEW claiming that Tony Storm is better for keeping character than The Undertaker. I mean, you might not like who Undertaker picks, right, as his presidential choice or whatnot, but why are we straight up lying? Why are we bashing Undertaker?
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Because of his political views.
You know what, right? Batista endorsed Kamala. We're not big fans of that at the end of the day. But, right, I'll let you in the wee secret. Does it take away from what fucking Batista's done in WWE and all the good stuff he's done? No, it doesn't. So I do not Same with Mick Foley, man. Mick Foley, massive liberal, right? There's a lot. I mean, but look, I think a good example of this, right, is Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Scott Hall voted Trump, was a Republican. Kevin Nash is a liberal. How come those two could remain best friends? It seems to be now in America that if you vote one way, it's almost like you completely diss on the other side.
You know what though?
And it's more of a liberal thing, if I'm being honest.
But the way Kevin Nash is getting on lately, I don't know if he'd have that same sort of energy these days.
Well, I mean, obviously Scott Hall's no longer with us, sadly, R.I.P. So he's not going to. Well, I was going to say he's not voting for Trump. I actually might vote for Kamala. Mail-in ballot.
Oh, that's
Scott Hall's fucking name on it.
Anyway, let's look at what Jim Cornette said then. So he reacted to a video of Taker and Kane, I guess, sitting down. They are going to do a podcast. Taker endorsed Trump. Jim Cornette then said on Twitter, quote, "Another former great wrestler on the list of alien pod people dubbed by the world's most repugnant man, con man. Mark and Glenn, you made it this long with everyone admiring you. Then in the end, you ruin your reputations and try to destroy the country along with them. I'm ashamed for you." End of quote. Jim Cornette saying he's ashamed for Kane and The Undertaker. I mean, look at the careers those guys have. Look at the respect that those guys have. I don't think Jim Cornette needs to be ashamed for them. I mean, Jim Cornette should be ashamed for himself. One of the biggest fucking crybaby losers. I mean, he's a guy that comes off as if he's like edgy and he can rant about this and he can bash this person, bash that person. He can talk this way about Russo and do this and do that. But then he gets so fucking offended and so upset about somebody not voting for his preferred presidential choice. It's absolutely insane.
See if Kane and Taker, right, were voting for Kamala and endorsed her, he'd be up their arse. Just because they're voting for Trump, man, he's trying to pretend that their entire legacy's in the bin. It's fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, he then directed another message at Glenn Jacobs and he said to Kane, quote, "Fuck off, Glenn. Quit trying to push this criminal MAGA horseshit for your own political gain and actually do something for the country by telling the truth about Trump and his enabling filth." End of quote. What's on that?
Enabling filth. Jim Cornette's a fucking loser, man. 1, he's a cuck. 2, he's a fucking jobber. 3, I actually can't stand the guy. I actually can't. See the fact he fucking bottled it for Santino of all people, man. My respect for it.
Well, Kane and Undertaker have never been fired for a racist joke.
That's it. Yeah, what's it? Jim Cornette. But see, I don't get it, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, Jim Cornette's racist and sexist. But see, because he's voting Kamala, it's almost like no one cares. No one dare. See if Jim Cornette did like the biggest 180 of all time and voted for Trump. See that racist, sexist? Oh, it'd be out there.
No, but like, see before Undertaker made this clear who's vote. Would Jim Cornette have said Taker was a bad guy? Would he have said Taker was a racist or a homophobe? Or anything? Absolutely not. But look at the bitch fit, man, that Cornette is having over Taker simply siding with Donald. Look how bad Jim Cornette's take. Whatever happened to, alright, well, America, freedom, you can choose who you want to, and I'll vote for who I want to vote for, and you vote for who you want to vote for. I mean, isn't that what America was supposedly built on? Yeah, Undertaker's freedom is causing Jim Cornette to go have a fucking meltdown.
See, Undertaker, right? I don't know his relationship with Cornette, but let's say they got on well, right? Maybe they haven't spoken years. Well, that's out the fucking window, all because of this. Bryan Cranston, another massive liberal, pretty much disowned his friend of 50 years because he came out as a Republican. It's actually pathetic. And you know what? This is all in the last 10 years. American politics has never been so much more divided. And obviously it filters out throughout the rest of the world, but it's pathetic. And I've heard people like throw digs at Taker because, Batista said that Undertaker was one of his idols and he completely threw Batista under the bus. Did anyone watch Batista's vid on fucking Trump, man? Boxing in the ring, gassed with his wee fucking skinny jeans on, crying about Trump. I mean, calling Donald Trump a crybaby from the biggest crybaby of them fucking all.
Yep, him going on JR's podcast and making the death of JR's wife all about himself.
I'm sorry, Jim.
Also, I mean, look at the way Batista dresses. How can he call Trump a little bitch?
I can't remember if it was his book, but his wife had cancer, right? And he actually said, like, why doesn't she do any hoovering when I'm away? And then he was talking about, like, how many threesomes he was getting into while his wife was dying of cancer. And he's fucking complaining about her not doing hoovering. But see, that's the thing.
Well, what a great guy he is. Let's all vote for Dave Batista.
See, if Dave Batista was a Republican, this would all be getting brought up. It's fucking incredible how this stuff is under wraps. No, it is.
Don't worry though, one guy that's not taking it lying down is WWE star Val Venus. He responded to Jim Cornette and basically Jim Cornette bashing Taker and Kane, and he called Cornette a communist.
I'll tell you what.
Jim Communist. He's got the same initials. There you go.
Jim Communist. So, Joseph Stalin, eat your heart out, son.
Venus said, quote, "Wow, at the Jim Cornette blocked me. I understand he is a communist, but I never thought he would block me. But he did. This sucks. I always liked Cornette and his mind for wrestling. Guess he takes political differences personally. But then again, that is typical of most communists." End of quote. Cornette then replied to Val saying, quote, "I unblocked you, Val, so you know I blocked you when I saw that you had become such a right-wing lunatic that you were saying shit that made people think CTE or bad drug issues. I was embarrassed on your behalf and didn't want to see you make a further Trump-sucking fool of yourself." End of quote. What is it with Jim Cornette being embarrassed or being ashamed of people that he doesn't need to be ashamed of? He should be ashamed of himself, embarrassed of himself.
No, it's pathetic, man. Because you know what? He is getting on like a communist, the left, right? And people like Cornette, they cry fascists and fascist this about the right. But yet, if anyone disagrees with him, it's like, well, fuck you, man. Fuck you. It's see, Dave Batista, I couldn't give a rat's arse. Doesn't fucking bother me in the slightest.
Vote for who he wants, don't care.
But see when he's like fucking firing digs at everybody, like Cornette, like, oh, if you thought that way, you're a cunt, you're this, you're that. Oh, fuck what you did for the business. Jim Cornette's a fucking jobber, man. He isn't even a drop in the water compared to what Undertaker and Kane have done.
Amanda Hoover. Oh, we always preferred Dave in this house.
I know, a picture of John Hoover. Another bastard that just fucking hoovering money off her dead husband. Sad, like. Fucking tragic.
I mean, that's probably not even true, though. I mean, they were probably fucking... John Hoover probably was a big Taker fan, and now she's putting words in his mouth.
Yeah, because they were in like a supermarket and he was holding up a Batista action figure with his son, and she's like, "Oh, we always preferred Batista."
Or maybe Taker wasn't in stock, or maybe he's already got Taker at home and he's buying Batista. Doesn't mean shit.
John Hoover didn't even fucking work with Batista. He actually worked with Taker.
Yeah, I just refuse to. Who the fuck grows up and gets into the wrestling business, right? And his Batista had a Taker on an all-time list. Let's just keep it real here.
I know. No, but then people are like, oh, but Batista's in better movies. Who gives a rat's fucking ass if Batista's in better movies?
Better movies than who?
Taker.
Taker's not a movie guy.
I know.
Anytime, if Taker has, I don't know what movies he's been in, but it's either been, like, because WWE wanted him to be in it, or it's like a cameo appearance. Taker's never wanted to be a movie star. Batista chose that.
Yeah. But again, I think Batista's a good actor. But when it comes to wrestling, what he does in movies is fucking irrelevant.
You think Batista's a good actor?
I think he's alright. I think he's one of, well, he's probably, I prefer Cena than him, like, but, I mean, they're both better than The Rock.
It's actually crazy how shite The Rock is at acting, isn't it?
Yeah, but The Rock obviously shits over Batista in wrestling. That's pathetic, man. See the amount of people disowning Taker of, like, the last week.
Well, as if Taker's gonna fucking care.
He couldn't give a shit.
He's not gonna be crying.
And they're all, like, burying his podcast.
No, but listen.
As well, like, for fucking no reason.
I know, but look at the way, just look at the way Jim Cornette's acting. Could you imagine Taker getting on and be like, "Oh, Jim, I thought better of you than this. Spent 40 years together in the business, and to find out that you're voting for Kamala, I'm ashamed for you, Jim Cornette." Could you imagine Taker acting this way? Or Kane acting this way?
You'd be embarrassed for them, man.
Anyway, Val Venus responded. He said, quote, "Thanks for the unblock, Jim. It's comforting to know a fellow wrestling icon is concerned about my mental health. Just a heads up, I'm not a right-winger, not even close. Just an anti-state, God-fearing anarchist keeping the conversation lively, educational, and productive. Who knew expressing anti-state, pro-God views would trigger such mental meltdowns by you and your status ilk? But hey, keep up the fight against us lunatics with CTE. It must be quite the workout. Here's to the engaging in some awesome discourse. Love ya, you commie. P.S. I'd love to interview you for my live stream sometime if you're interested. Call it the battle of the pro-nanny state, anti-freedom, anti-God statist versus anti-state, pro-freedom, God-fearing anarchist. Let me know. You might learn something." End of quote. And of course, Jim Cornette is not going to do a live interview with Val Venus because he'd be absolutely destroyed and he'd be made to look an idiot.
Of course he would.
The only thing Jim Cornette's going to do is reply in his own time and throw insulting digs at Venus and Taker and Kane, because I mean that's all he's got.
Yeah, no, it's pathetic. You can see why people don't come up with their political opinions. You can, because this is fucking. I mean, obviously Kane and Taker don't give a fuck, right? Kane's like literally, you know, a Republican. He's like, he's a mayor, damn it. But you see in America, man, it's a fucking mess.
Yeah, but Jim Cornette's the kind of guy that would probably hate on Trump for like some of the things that Trump says about people. Yeah, he's on Twitter, like completely having a mental rage meltdown.
Aye, of the highest degree. He's always like that, though. Fucking Russo should batter Cornette.
Could you imagine if Russo came out and said he was voting for Trump?
Oh. But see, that's where Cornette's got no morals. See if Russo said, I'm coming out and voting for Kamala.
He'd probably put Russo above Taker.
Aye. It's just ridiculous.
His booking was actually no bad.
His booking was alright. Anyway, guys.
It was Bischoff that killed WCW.
That is it. Jim Cornette's a fucking loser. Till then, peace.